I don't think your 40-yard dash is everything, but that right there is very concerning if I'm an NFL team. I think there's some other guys I would take over him now. Oh, Metal, man, I'm looking at these numbers again. They are hard to believe and fathom. He ran a 4.38 40-yard dash, which is good alone. With the NFL Draft Combine finally coming to an end, it's time to answer two questions. Who were the biggest winners and who were the biggest losers? One of my favorite quotes, and most of y'all know this, is winners win and losers lose, and we definitely saw that over the weekend. I've always found the NFL Draft Combine so fascinating because something as simple as 40 yards, it can either cost you $2 or $3 million or it can make you $4 or $5 million. I can't be the only person that thinks only 5 seconds out of your day can determine whether you're a first round pick or a 5th round pick. The Combine's awesome because yes, it helps a ton of players, but it also hurts just as many, and that's the bad part about it that nobody talks about. I don't think I have to explain this one, it's rather simple. We're going to talk about the biggest winners and the biggest losers. You already know we're not doing no corny intro. If you like football content, anything like this, consider joining our amazing community. It is 100% free, helps you out, or it helps me out, doesn't hurt you whatsoever. Alright, Matt, blah, blah, shut the crap up. Now without further ado, let's get into it. Where do we want to start with this? I haven't even thought about it. You know what? I'll say we start with the category that people love to talk about the most, the quarterback position. Leading up to the Combine, who was the wild card in the quarterback room? It wasn't Bryce Young, it wasn't CJ Stroud, and it really wasn't even Will Levis because all three of those guys, they've solidified themselves as top 10, top 15 picks guaranteed. We already know the good and bads about Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, although there's not really any bads at all. And it's the same thing for Will Levis. I know he has a lot of haters and he didn't have a lustful college career, but the dude looks like he's going to be an NFL pro. He checks off all the boxes and he's got a really strong arm. And oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to explain this in the intro, but when I go over these winners and losers, I'm not just talking about guys who had a good combine. I'm talking about guys who I feel like benefited the most from the combine. So although yes, CJ Stroud had a good performance, I don't think he necessarily gained too much from it. Yes, he performed well, but we already expected that. I'm talking about guys in the combine who weren't supposed to do that good or nobody expected to do that good and they outperformed. So I do want to make that clear. As far as it goes for the quarterback room, I only have one winner, and I think all of you can agree on this. It's Anthony Richardson. Man, oh man, you want to talk about strapping up, putting your big boy pants on? That's what Anthony Richardson did. I've already dedicated an entire video alone just talking about how good he was, so for that reason alone, I'm not going to talk about it too much. All you need to know is he was first in height, he was first in weight, first in 40-yard dash, first in vertical, and first in broad jump. And on top of that, as far as it goes for his throwing abilities, and unfortunately I can't show you any footage from the NFL Draft Combine because the NFL, last time I did, they took my video down. Yeah, he wasn't too shabby. I knew Anthony Richardson. He was an athletic freak. The best comparison I can use is LeBron James in the NBA, but when it comes to his throwing abilities, that's where he shocked me. Has a really strong arm, and he showed that on full display. My only concern with him, and it's similar to these NFL executives and GMs, is the short ball accuracy and the medium accuracy. That's where things get a little dicey. He's definitely a work in progress. He's not like a Bryce Young or CJ Stroud where they're ready to go tomorrow. With all that being said, nobody had more concerns about Anthony Richardson than me. Nobody's been a bigger hater on Anthony Richardson than me, and yeah, I think he solidified himself as a first-round pick. I'll take a step even farther. I would be shocked at this point in time to see him fall out of the top 15. I really would. We all know this. You got to take into account quarterbacks are always overdrafted. I could continue to go on and on about Anthony Richardson. There's so much to speak on for that, but let's move on to our biggest loser from the quarterback position, and there's only one, and that's Max Duggan from TCU. This is one of your classic situations where he would have been better off just not showing up. I'm going to keep this one short and simple like I'm going to try to do with every single player. Yes, he ran a 4.52 40-yard dash. That's awesome. But he was terrible when it comes to throwing. He was so bad that an article wrote, quote unquote, he may have actually cost himself some serious cash with a poor performance, likely dropping him down a few draft boards in the eyes of some. And when I say terrible, let me give you some context. I'm not talking about compared to me and you, I'm talking about to the other quarterbacks at the Combine. I watched the Combine, and I also watched Stetson Bennett throw, and I thought Bennett was better than Duggan. And Stetson Bennett is projected to be a late 3rd round or 4th round pick. I think the best way to describe this is Max Duggan, he didn't help himself out, and if anything, he regressed. Moving along here to our wide receiver room, we got 2 winners and also 2 losers. I say we talk about the winners first. Winner number 1 is, and this guy shocked me, is Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers isn't exactly a household name, and I don't expect too many of you to even know who this guy is. The one thing that helped him out the most, and it's got everybody talking, is he ran a 4.42 40-yard dash. When it comes to wide receivers, that's mainly the only thing people really care about is the 40-yard dash. But I'll tell you this, outside the 40-yard dash, he had a great combine. And the comparison that I'm going to use, I'll show you this little graph right here or whatnot. Everybody's saying Steve Smith Jr., but I like Antonio Brown as a comparison. Zay Flowers is reminding me a ton of a young version of Antonio Brown. From the combine alone, Flowers went from a late first round, early second round pick to maybe you see him go off the board as early as top 15. He was the talk of the combine, and nobody helped themselves out more than this guy. Moving along here to our second winner when it comes to the combine that I see nobody talking about is Trey Palmer from Nebraska. Fun fact about Trey Palmer, he played at LSU for 3 years before he went to Nebraska, so that's why I know a lot about this guy that most people don't. Y'all know I like to keep up with my SEC players and whatnot, and that's why I actually took time out of my day to watch and see how he does. At Nebraska last year, let me remind you, Nebraska was terrible. He had 71 catches for over 1,000 yards. And take nothing away from Casey Thompson, the quarterback at Nebraska, but it's not like he had freaking Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud throwing him the ball. Nebraska was terrible, and he still put up over 1,000 yards. But check this out. When it comes to your speed demons, Trey Palmer was the speediest of the speed demons. He ran a 4.33. I think most people have come numb to running the 40-yard dash, and they don't understand if you run a 4.4 flat, that is flying. If you get under a 4.4 flat, you're beyond flying. I don't even know what you want to call it. And I hate to harp on it, but it's what the NFL goes off of when drafting a wide receiver. It's speed, 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 and more speed. If you want to make a lot of money, you need to be fast, period, the end. It's all about speed. Look at the modern day the NFL. Why are the Dolphins so good? It's not necessarily because of Tua. I like Tua, love him to death, but I don't think he's some Tom Brady type of quarterback. Is because of Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. There's a lot of guys that can run a 4.45 or 4.5, but not many guys that can get under a 4.4. If you run the fastest 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine, you definitely, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind, made $3 to $4 million more than you would have if you would have finished 9th on this list. That's it. Period. The end. Trey Palmer, congratulations on making a couple million more dollars. But, and I have a big but, with the good, you get the bad. Let's talk about the two biggest losers at the wide receiver positions. I said positions, it's position. Matt, what are you talking about? Loser number one is Jordan Addison. All throughout the year at the college level, most people thought he was going to be the first wide receiver taken off the board in the NFL draft. However, at this point in time, that would be a stretch, and I have a hard time believing he's even wide receiver 2. I'm going to read you this off because I was reading an article and somebody wrote this. Addison ran just a 4.49 40-yard dash, which tied for 12th among receivers who chose to run. This is still middle in the pack, but teams selected in the top 32 picks don't typically take average athletes. Wow. I don't know if they're trying to be funny by saying that, but it's facts. And here's what's concerning. I'm just going to continue to read from this article because they got great points. Addison ran a 4.55 on his second 40 time. Here's something interesting. This is the second slowest time for a receiver under 175 pounds since 2003. Another key piece of information to throw in there is he ended his workout early because he tweaked his back. So number one, you didn't do good in the 40-yard dash, and number two, you didn't even finish the combine. I don't think that's good whatsoever. He's not very big, and just like that article stated, he's looking like an average athlete. Compared to the other wide receivers at least, there's nothing about Jordan Addison that wowed me, and whenever you're selecting a guy in the first round, it's got to wow you. Something about his game's got to wow you. Taking a look at loser number 2 at the wide receiver position, this one was atrocious. Arguably one of the worst performances at the combine, and that's Kayshon Boutte. Nobody, and I mean nobody whatsoever, hurt themselves more at the combine than Kayshon Boutte. He shouldn't have showed up. He ran a 4.50 40-yard dash, and on his second attempt, ran a 4.67. And the worst part about all of this is he finished last in vertical jump at only 29 inches. I think it goes without being said, it ain't looking good for old Boutte. Going back to our winners, this was single-handedly the best performance out of anybody at the combine, and this is Darnell Washington. Good gosh almighty, man. You want to talk about a freak of nature? That's Darnell. And the best part about this is I feel good talking about him because I've been trying to tell people the past year, this guy's a monster. The only reason he gets no recognition whatsoever is because everybody's raving about the guy who was ahead of him, and that's Brock Bowers at Georgia. Darnell Washington, the backup tight end at Georgia, would have started at any other university, including Alabama. Not only was he insane at the combine, but you had to watch Georgia games to understand this. This guy on the field is nothing short than a flat-out, unreal creature and specimen. It doesn't make sense for a guy to be this tall, this strong, but also as athletic as LeBron James. I hate to beat a dead horse, but I want you to understand, and my words don't do it justice, it is unreal watching this guy play football. He can hurdle people like Najee Harris from Alabama. But to go on top of that, at the combine, he measured in at 6'6", 264 pounds, right? Had 34-inch arms and posted a 4.64 40-yard dash. 4.64 at 6'6", 264. Remember Kayshon Boutte we talked about? He ran a 4.67. And oh yeah, when it comes to the 20-yard shuttle, I'd say he did okay. He was right up there with Jackson Smith-Njigba and Julius Brents, who are cornerbacks and wide receivers. Dude's a beast, man. The dude's a beast. But since we're at it, I say we talk about another Georgia player who was also another winner from the Combine, and that's Nolan Smith. I've been keeping up with Nolan Smith since high school. For those of you who don't know, he was the #1 recruit coming out of high school, and he dominated at Georgia. You hear people nowadays say, oh, I'm an athlete, I'm an athlete, I'm an athlete. No, you don't understand. Nolan Smith is an athlete. I almost wonder if he played basketball because he had over a 40-inch vertical. And his broad jump was also 10.8, which is in the 95th percentile, and he ran a 4.44 40-yard dash. That's all I'm going to say. Sometimes the numbers speak for themselves, and that's what this is. A lot of people are saying he could be a fringe late first-round pick, maybe fall as low as mid-second round, but not anymore. With these numbers, he has solidified himself as a guaranteed first-round pick. Could be picked as high as, 12, 13, 14? I didn't even realize this, but we got 3 Georgia players to talk about. Might as well talk about one of their losers from the NFL Combine, and that is Jalen Carter. I know what you're sitting there saying, Matt, he didn't do anything at the Combine, but we all know with the incident that went on, since it's really going to affect him a lot, I'm going to consider him a loser post-Combine. I'm not really going to dive into it. I think he easily went from, without a shadow of a doubt, top 3 pick to now, he could fall to 7, 8, or 9. Will he fall that low? Probably not, but he's no longer a lock to be top 3. So for that reason alone, I am going to consider him a loser. Oh snap, didn't even realize this. We have 4 Georgia players to talk about. Keeping it on track with the losers, we got to talk about Georgia's running back, Kenny McIntosh, the only running back we're going to talk about. Kenny McIntosh, he had a poor performance. This one's kind of weird to me because McIntosh at Georgia was considered to be this shifty, high agility type of running back, and I think he is. But his 40-yard dash tells you otherwise. He ran a 4.62. That mind-boggled me to say the least. I thought he was a 4.45-ish type of guy, but he ran a 4.62. I don't think your 40-yard dash is everything, but that right there is very concerning if I'm an NFL team. I think there's some other guys I would take over him now. And the reason it hurts him is because he is considered to be a fast and quick player, and at the Combine, he didn't come off as that. If a guy like Bijan Robinson ran a 4.62 or Ezekiel Elliott, nobody would bat an eye because those are physical runners. But when a quick guy isn't really quick, you see what I'm saying? It looks bad, at least on paper. So that one was shocking to me. Let's talk about our last winner, and then we got a couple more losers, and that's Christian Gonzalez. Oh man, I'm looking at these numbers again. They are hard to believe and fathom. He ran a 4.38 40-yard dash, which is good alone. But to go along with that, he had a 41.5-inch vertical and an 11.1-inch broad jump. And he's physical, man. He looks like an NFL cornerback. He's 6'1" and nearly a half and already 200 pounds. It's harder to argue that anybody improved their stock more than him. I've seen some recent mock drafts with him going in the top 10. Coming into the Combine, he wasn't on a lot of radars, but now I think everybody's going to be fighting over him. Last but not least, though, we got 2 more, or really 3 more losers to talk about. Andre Carter, who played for Army. I don't expect many people to know who this guy is, but he was widely considered to be a first-round pick. After the Combine, though, I have a hard time believing that is going to even happen. He had a miserable 30-inch vertical and only a 9'1" broad jump. That's it. That's all there is to it. He put up terrible numbers. Last but not least, though, we got a 2-for-1 special. Our last 2 losers of the Combine are 2 players from the same team, and they're also from the same position. Trey Dean III and Rashad Torrance II, Florida safeties, were terrible. I'm going to remind you, these are safeties, and their 40-yard dash, one of them, Dean, ran a 4.75, terrible, and Torrance ran a 4.72. Look, man, it's hard to hurt yourself worse than running a 40-yard dash over 4.7 when you're a safety. I would expect not one of these guys, but the entire package, both of them, to fall in this draft. Ladies and gentlemen, though, there you have it, the biggest winners and the biggest losers from this NFL Combine. Let me know your biggest winners and losers down below, but roll with me.